VI tells veterans discharged under Don't Ask, Don't Tell they are eligible for all VI benefits. I believe this is what's called restorative justice, and we need a lot more of it in this country. Great news. Sounds like the same idea as pot pardons in places where it's now legal, they at least don't have that on their record now. Yeah, also great news. A great start, anyway. That actually isn't restorative justice. I don't know why your comment has that many upvotes. Restorative justice is a very specific approach to criminal justice and punishments in legal systems that is very interesting to be aware of and examine that many people are not aware about. Something else vets need to know about is the wartime pension. If you serve during any wartime period, and I believe Iraq and Afghanistan qualify, when you reach 65 you can get a pension. It isn't much, mine is $183 a month, but it helps. If you fill out the paperwork and follow the process, you can end up with a nice lump sum check before the monthly amount kicks in. I got a lump $2,000 in August, then $183 a month after that. Again, though, you have to be 65 or older, but this benefit is like others the VI offer, kind of hidden unless you look for it. There you go, have a look. And at least one of these must be true about your service. You started on active duty before September 8, 1980, and you served at least 90 days on active duty with at least 1 day during wartime, or started on active duty as an enlisted person after September 7, 1980, and served at least 24 months, or the full period for which you were called or ordered to active duty, with some exceptions, with at least 1 day during wartime, or were an officer and started on active duty after October 16, 1981, and you hadn't previously served on active duty for at least 24 months. So that's like practically everyone except officers that started active duty between 9/8/80 and 10/16/81, I think. Good to know these hidden gems. Edit, there is an income net worth limit, though to be clear. The full period for which you were called or ordered to active duty, with some exceptions, with at least 1 day during wartime. This reminded me that there's a comment somewhere about an army mechanic who realized that his superior officer does everything he could to make sure as much people as possible qualified for this up to and including surprise repairs and inspection on planes to delay people leaving just days short. I had heard something about Guard Reserve activations just too short to qualify for some benefits. Sounds like this officer was working within the system against such policies. A civilian version might be full-time benefits that kick in at 35 hours a week, so you're scheduled for 34. The difference in mentality between a bro and a bootlicking bastard. I had the opposite happen on one of my deployments. We left on like the 27th of a month and returned on the 26th. Even though the DD-214 for the deployment said 1 year, 0 months, 0 days, the VI counted it as under a year, even though there were months of active duty, doing other stuff both before and after. Pretty frustrating stuff, but that's what the officer is fighting against. Officers qualify as well as with a caveat of not having previously served on active duty for at least 24 months. But they would get benefits under their other 24-month service. My dad didn't qualify because his pension is too high. Otherwise he meets all the other criteria. Thanks, gonna send this to my dad. According to this link, the last war to qualify was the Gulf War back in 1990. Most likely it hasn't been updated for the War on Terror because it hasn't been long enough yet. Desert Storm was 30 years ago. Desert Storm was 30 years ago. Holy fuck, that's bizarre to read. Never heard of this before until your post. Granted, I'm over 30 years away from this being something I could take advantage of. As it stands, I don't think I will end up eligible based on assets, but a lot could change for the worse in the next 3 decades. Definitely glad to know I have another safety net though. Thanks for the post. $183 a month for putting your life on the line? What the actual fuck? Yeah, that's fucking cheap as shit for a country that sank 3 TR into war. It's beyond cheap. What does that get you? Groceries? Not even close. Is it a sliding scale based on income assets? I'm guessing $183 is not the only tier. Guess again. You can also try to push up your service connectedness. One of my friend is pushing for it. He got it push once or twice here. He's trying to get 100%. Op isn't service connected. He's talking about a pension available to veterans that serve during official periods of conflict. This is not restricted to people over the age of 65. Veterans with non-service connected disabilities that alone or combined equal about 60% are eligible. Veterans in assisted living, or who live with and are being cared for by family members, are also eligible. If you have no income, you're eligible for about $1,160 per month. Veterans who are unable to work due to temporary or permanent disabilities that are non-service connected are also eligible. Unfortunately, those veterans need to have served during time of conflict in order to qualify. Wow, I did not know this. I am 100% and I am a couple decades from being eligible. Feel bad for the vets who were separated because of this, but it is listed differently on their paperwork. How is it listed? I think they mean listed under other infraction to avoid dealing with the controversial one. Often it's a medical discharge. My DD 214 literally says homosexual action, and this was in 2003. I don't think the military really worried about appearances. Wow, you got booted for that in 03? I guess each unit is different. We had a company clerk who had rainbows on everything. His car, his gym bag, he wore a custom gold ring with a rainbow on it and flew the rainbow flag from his barracks room window. My impression at the time was that don't ask, don't tell was the policy, but it wasn't really being enforced anymore. I am both disheartened and surprised, not surprised to hear about what you had to go through. What a difference 20 years can and can't make at the same time. I can't even imagine what those vets from the 80s and prior had to go through. Edit, that's military logic though. They were booting people out for that dumb reason, but they stopped lost me and countless others for months. It was so unit dependent. Also, the person who told was an ex-GF and she went straight to JAG. My commander actually told me that if she'd gone to him, he would have looked the other way. He actually went out of his way to keep me safe afterwards, and I got honorable, which seems like it was fairly arbitrary at the time. If you have it in writing that the military considers you an honorable homosexual, I feel like that's a partial win. It definitely is. Ooh. That bitch. I bet her remaining time at that unit was enjoyable per second. Hahaha, well, I'd like to imagine it wasn't. Wasn't it a kamikaze move on her part? Damn, were you eligible for VI benefits with an honorable discharge, even though it was a don't ask, don't tell thing? This shit was all over the place. I'm glad those days are behind us, but it sucks to think about how many careers of Americans who just wanted to serve their country were cut short and devalued. I got investigated under Dad in 2005 for going to an Applebee's with other female soldiers. This asshole sergeant in my unit saw us there, his wife stopped by to say hi, she was friends with one of the women in the group, and they left. Monday morning I got called into the commander's office. The other soldier who I was accused of being gay with, or whatever, was in another company. Her commander refused to cooperate since the whole thing was a sham. Asshole just hated his wife's friend or something. Meanwhile, another pair of soldiers in a different company had one bed in their barracks room and nobody cared. It really did vary from unit to unit. I didn't know those kinds of investigations were even a thing at the time. I didn't think that's how don't ask, don't tell even worked. Yeah, me neither. When I was briefed by my company commander, I asked him, are you even allowed to ask me if I'm gay during this investigation? He looked so uncomfortable, I don't even remember what he said in response. I'm sure he was relieved when the other co refused to cooperate. Is this something company commanders are obligated to even look into? If I was the company commander, I'd have probably told the SGT to mind his or her own business and damn the consequences. But that's easy to say, I guess, since I am, in fact, not a company commander. Wow, you got booted for that in 03? 2003 is the same year SCOTUS finally recognized that it was unconstitutional for states to kidnap people for being gay. Prior to 9/11, it wasn't really a big deal. My friend was wearing his rainbow garb even then. After 9/11, military units in general seemed to not care about gays in the military anymore. Or a lack of a high school diploma. Or an inability to maintain weight standards. Or a criminal record. It's amazing how much of a difference a personnel shortage can make during a global war on terror. Maybe for the enlisted, but I remember top military people saying that a lot of mission-critical people were discharged for being gay. I think they were non-combat officers and such. I keep telling people that we're making progress, but it's a decade-by-decade fight. Yeah, 20 years ago I had 2 friends suicide and 1 AIDS. Just think about the shift in attitudes towards AIDS. Not time to stop working though. That was my experience too. Well before it was repealed, we had an openly gay dude in our unit, and nobody gave one little fuck about it. He was good at his job, that's all that mattered. I'm guessing nobody cares about how the clerk swings since he's a pog? They didn't seem to care how anyone was swinging back then. Even adultery or fraternizing, which were punishable under the UCMJ. We had a pretty solid mixture of all of it. I was in a fairly redneck infantry company during the invasion of Iraq. I guess every unit is different, but no one really cared about shit like that. Genuine question. How does that make you feel after making the decision to put your life on the line for this country? Would you choose to do that again given the opportunity? I don't necessarily mean now. But would you have joined then if you knew exactly how it was going to go down? That's a really good question and it's complicated. I was all in and really wanted to go career, so I was devastated. Also, I was really embarrassed when I had to apply for jobs soon after and had to show my DD-214. That being said, after Obama changed some rules, I finally got the GI Bill that I had fully paid into, and it paid for my undergrad, and then I went to medical school. So it really did help pull me out of poverty like I originally hoped it would. Now, it's almost become a badge of honor when I have to show my DD-214. So I think I've convinced myself that I would do it again. Although I know with time I've glossed over how really horrible I felt when I was going through it. I distinctly remember driving a couple of hours in my Firebird, typical airman, lol, and crying so hard that I couldn't see the road. Even setting your own personal experience aside, does it change your desire to defend a country that largely looks at homosexuality as a disgusting disease that needs curing? Like, our whole deal is freedom and liberty. I can imagine it being extremely difficult to want to fight for a country that doesn't care to fight for you. Haha, I don't know how you took complicated and made it even complicateder. I think our country and its ideals can be beautiful, and I believe in defending its ability to grow towards that. I also don't believe it's monolithic, and just like I fight to provide excellent healthcare to the marginalized portions of our population, undocumented, LGBTQ, impoverished, I believe that defending our country can be defending what I believe to be the silent majority in the general population who agree with me. Fair points. You're a better man than I. This is a great country. But I'd never for a second think to put my life or my family's lives on the line for it. No offense, but unless someone is a real idiot, serving your country is always extremely complicated. I'm a political refugee, and I served in the Marine Corps, and well, just look at this country's immigration policies, especially towards refugees of wars and crisis that this country creates to begin with. What about blacks who serve? What about Muslims who serve? What about women who serve? The list is endless. My question to you is this: what makes you think that they should feel any differently than when they signed up? Did they not know they were gay? Did they not know about don't ask, don't tell? People aren't that stupid or naive. At least, minorities who already know what it's like to struggle in the USA, they aren't signing up thinking that it's going to somehow get better in the military. Just look at this country's immigration policies. What about blacks who serve? What about Muslims who serve? What about women who serve? The list is endless. You're absolutely right. I don't know why any of these people would put their lives on the line for this country either. I wasn't suggesting that only gay people should not want to serve. I think there's a very long list of people who don't even get a fraction of the respect they deserve or the liberty that is promised to them in this country, and I'm flabbergasted about why any of them would volunteer at least 4 years of their lives with the chance of never coming home to defend a country that causes so much struggle for those people for no good reason at all.